Reflections from Torch Trust, focusing on Christian faith and sight loss.
Hello and a warm welcome to Reflections from Torch Trust, the show that focuses on faith and disability in today's world. I'm your host, Marilyn Baker, and I'm so happy to have you with us today. We're joined by a very special guest today. Her name is Laura Neal, and she was inspired to found the online Christian community You Belong in response to her own experience of chronic illness. Laura is a truly inspiring young woman, and she has such a wonderful message to share. Let's go now to her recent interview with our producer, Grace Dawson.
So, Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me here.
What gave you the idea to start You Belong?
You Belong came out of my own personal situation with chronic illness and disability, in that I wasn't able to connect with church in the same way as many other people, especially not being able to get on site. And even if I was able to make a Sunday service, I wasn't able to feel like I was actually part of the community. So basically, I went looking for people like myself online, and it sort of naturally developed. I never planned to be doing this, but it's growing, and it's providing community for myself and for others who are joining.
Brilliant. And so how do you get started doing something like this? 'Cause I don't think I'd know where to begin, even if I had the idea.
I think that the good part is that I didn't really think I had an idea as such. So I just went on Twitter and just typed in some hashtags like chronic illness, Christian, Spoonie, all that kind of chronic illness, disability hashtag stuff. And then ended up finding a couple of people, and then went into their follow list and started following them. And then just sort of sharing things about my life and my sort of questions around faith and disability and chronic illness. And it sort of just developed naturally from there. And then it was a case of some people saying, oh, we don't use Twitter. Can we connect via Facebook? So we set up a Facebook account. And it's just sort of grown from there, from people sort of sharing their thoughts and ideas and feedback, and me thinking, well, maybe it'd be good to do a Zoom call as well, so we get to sort of see people as well. And it's just sort of grown naturally like that. I didn't ever come into it with a plan. So when people are like, oh, how can I replicate that? I'm like, don't ask me. You might want to ask God about that one.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's so organic. Like the need was there, and it's just grown to fill that need. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
brilliant. And so who is this community for? Who's welcome to join, basically?
We do keep it very open, and we don't tell people they have to prove that they get disability benefits or anything like that. We are a completely open community, and people can give themselves their identity in that. So it might be that someone who's autistic decides that they are disabled and therefore they want to be part of our community, and someone else is like, actually no, I don't sort of connect with this community. I connect with other people somewhere else, and so that's fine as well. So we're open to all sorts of people. Our community is made up of people with intellectual disabilities. We've got people who are blind, people who are deaf, people who are chronically ill with various like sort of ME and fatigue sort of things, and a whole spectrum of people, and also people who are mentally ill, because that often seems to cross over with chronic illness and disability as well. So yeah, we've got a wide spectrum, and people all across the UK as well. So people in Scotland, people in Isle of Wight. So top to bottom of the UK, we've basically covered it.
And can you tell me a little bit more about what you do as a community?
So we're sort of still in that sort of early stage. So although we started up in January of 2019, because we've sort of been organically growing it, we haven't been forcing anything. There's been a lot of time of just listening and testing things. And I think it's kind of good as well to recognise that some things don't work out, especially when you're setting up something new and it looks successful from the outside. I think a lot of people then feel a bit disheartened themselves if they're trying something and it's not working. But there's definitely been lots of trial and error. So we do have groups on Zoom, which are great, and we do have them in the morning, we have them in the evening, we have them weekday, we have them weekends, to try and sort of cover as many times as we can for people to join our groups. And we have things like, we have a Bible study group, we have a mindful art group, we do socials. So we did like a pancake day one where we had pancakes and just chatted. So it's all kind of random a little bit throughout the month. And then we also have our social media, which means people can check in anytime, any day. And we post things in our Facebook group, and Twitter have a group as well. So it's like we have a private option so people can join the community, and then it's behind the scenes, or not all your friends and family are sort of seeing those conversations. So we can then pray together, and we have questions about what have you been up to this week. People will share photos to get to know each other and maybe connect with someone nearby them through the community. But yeah, we're still sort of changing and growing every day depending on where we feel that we're being led. So some things maybe close down over the summer and something new starts up in the autumn. But we just don't know, which is exciting, but also a little bit scary.
Yeah. I was looking at your Twitter feed earlier, and I liked a tweet that I saw that was just sort of saying, "Do you have anything you want us to pray about? We'll pray for you." Like, I just thought that's so lovely and so open, and just that someone could just know that you're praying, your community is praying. So
Yeah, that's really important to us. And also that we try to let people know that we do pray, because I think a lot of times people can put that out there and it kind of gets lost. And I think it's nice that we've got a lot of people who are stuck at home and can't go out anywhere, but feel that their gifting is prayer. So they're able to do that and actually be praying for those people. And we check in with them as we can sort of in the future to sort of see how that's turned out as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really great. And do you mind telling me a little bit about your own faith and your own experience as a Christian?
Yeah, it's been complicated. I think chronic illness life is complicated anyway, but so I went out originally to train as a youth worker in a Christian setting with my theology degree. But as I was doing that, I started to collect more and more chronic illnesses and realized I wasn't going to be able to do the physical aspects of youth work anymore. And I think I sort of felt a bit lost, and that I'd kind of lost my way. And I was like, so how is God going to use me now if I can't do this? What is the point and the good parts in this? And then my director of studies at uni sort of said to me, he's like, "Oh, have you heard of online church?" And this would have been 2018. And at the time, my honest thought was, online church isn't real church. And obviously since COVID, things have changed a lot. But yeah, and so I sort of struggled with that myself. I read some books from some really great people that have been there before me, and sort of started to recognize myself in some of those other stories. And then I was really struck by Nancy Iceland, The Disabled God, and sort of looking at myself in this kind of, I'm not damaged goods. Like Jesus came back, he rose when he was resurrected. He came back with his marks and his scars. He wasn't perfect in the Roman sort of idea of what good, whole it meant. And I think it's the fact that God's obviously used me in this situation anyway through this online church community stuff, but also personally, I think I can really relate to the idea of the joy of God in those moments when I'm not happy, maybe like I could even be really, really down, but there's still that sort of joy spark in me of like, God's here, God's good. The world is good as well. Like, I know it's not very obvious at times, but there are some good things happening. And yeah, I think it's really changed my idea of things about like using a wheelchair and maybe laying in bed while I'm doing a lot of these talks and things to people, and not feeling the shame of it, because it's like, God has put me in this position. I don't feel like I'm going to be cured from it, but I also completely have been healed in that, because I've accepted my situation and can see the good in it and using it. And I don't think I know who I'd be without it anymore. So yeah, I've learned a lot.
Belonging also happens to be one of the 4 needs that are at the heart of Torch Trust's focus. We see it as a very important part of the Christian experience. Here is CEO Tim Jeffrey to tell us a little more about this and to explain what the other 3 key needs are.
So Torch has always been about blind and partially sighted people, and has had this lovely personal approach where it's not looking at sort of blind and partially sighted people as some kind of group of folk in the land. Actually saying this is about individuals. This is about Joan and David and particular people who we come in contact with, and about their spiritual journey and their spiritual journey as it interacts with their sight loss journey. And so really what we've done is we've gone to that, really. We've said, actually, fundamentally, Torch is about helping individuals. It's about helping people. people who are blind and partially sighted, and help them on their spiritual walk. So core of this new strategy is saying, actually, what are the needs that our blind and partially sighted friends have at this time, with all that's happening in the world and in our nation? What are the needs that people have? And so we've done quite a lot of consultation to find out what are people saying are the things they need. And we basically, from all of that and from Torch's experience and our trustees' experience, come up with 4 needs, which we're saying this is at the heart of the strategy. So the first one is the need for support, is in that process of deteriorating sight, the need for support in that process. So people feel that they've got, a friend and somebody that they can connect with. So support is the first one. The second one is encounter. We recognize that actually everybody, the best thing that can possibly happen to them in life is to encounter Jesus, and to get to know him and receive the love that he has, and really embrace and enter into that and begin to live the Christian walk. So the second one is encounters. We've got support and encounter. The third one is about belonging. We all need to belong, don't we? We all need to feel that we belong to something, that we have community, that we have fellowship, we have other people that care about us, and where we can contribute and bring our gifts as well. And so the third one is belonging, really people feeling a sense of being connected to one another, part of something. And then the fourth one is growth. To actually, it's not the Christian walk is not just about becoming a Christian and then setting up your deck chair by the cross and not doing anything else. It's about growing and maturing and learning and living the Christian life more and more deeply. And so we our heart is to see our blind and partially sighted colleagues having the same opportunities to be able to grow with the resources that they need. So those 4 needs kind of make up the heart of the strategy. So at the core of who Torch is and what we're about are individual blind and partially sighted people, and for Torch to be working with them, working with those needs, helping people, coming alongside them, learning from them, so that together we can be meeting those needs, not just of current Torch clients, but of more and more people, both in this country and across the world.
Yesterday, today, and forever you're the same. All the promises of God find their yes in you. Demons flee, strongholds fall. They must bow before your name. No authority, no power is higher than you. Let's sing our praise to the Lord. Thank you for the great things you have done. Let's sing with all of our heart. There's no Father like you. Let's dance for joy to the And that was my song, Forever You're the Same. Now let's hear the final part of our interview with Laura from You Belong.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about your experience with chronic illness?
Yeah, so my main struggles are fatigue and pain, and I also have a non-specific dysautonomia, meaning my blood pressure and heart rate sort of play themselves around the side to do their own thing. And yeah, I think it's difficult, and I think one of the things I struggle with most is that when my body isn't functioning, I then think I rely even more heavily on my brain to be doing something, and I mean, it's always doing something, that's for sure. I can be awake till 4 a.m. with it, coming up with ideas. But I think I then find it really difficult with brain fog and stuff like that when that happens and my brain can't focus and maybe my eyes are tired and I'm just like, so what is the point in this now? You know, I'm relying on my brain to run, and when that's not working, my body's not working. I'm like, okay, great. But actually, I think that's when I'm then even more reliant on God. So it's that reminder of in your weakness I am strong. But it is, yeah, it's life is difficult and it's changed a whole lot, and I don't think there's any sort of need to deny the difficulties, because life is hard. I think there's often that kind of issue with the word disabled, that people don't like to use it because it's like a dirty word or something. But like I totally identify with it because it makes me part of a community, and it is what it is. Yeah, like, you know, it doesn't mean that I can't do anything or that I'm worthless or anything like that. It just, I think it's a case of trying to have those two things of you are worthy and you are loved, even though you're not productive, maybe in the normal sense of the word. And I think it comes down to that whole thing of we are often inclined to link our worth to our productivity and what we can achieve. And I think it's so important to separate those two things, especially as Christians, that we are who we are because God made us this way, and it doesn't matter whether we're able to clean a house that day or send that email or whatever. Like, that doesn't change how much God loves us and who we are. And something I always come back to that I'm reminded of by a friend and now one of our team members is that you are a human being, not a human doing. And I think that's a really important thing to remember on those difficult days.
Absolutely. I think you have a message that a lot of people will benefit from hearing, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. It's something I've learned. It's good to be able to pass it on to people.
Yeah, definitely. So I think a lot of our listeners will be really interested in You Belong. So do you mind just running through all of the ways that people could get involved? Twitter?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. So at the moment our website is down, but it is just You Belong with the word you and the word belong together.org.uk. Our email address is just info@youbelong.org.uk. And then we have our Facebook, which is You Belong _2019, and on Twitter it's You Belong 2019 without the underscore. But all those things will be linked to the website. We're hoping to get that up by September. So as that's all sort of live and ready to go, we've sort of been focusing on the accessibility and making sure it's easy to use. So hopefully you'll be able to find us in all those places much more easily if you can't access them right now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for being on the show with us.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm sorry to say that's all we have time for today. But remember, to find out more about You Belong, you can follow them on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube by searching for You Belong. That's capital Y and capital B, You Belong, all one word. You Belong also has a website, youbelong.org.uk. No capitals there, but it is currently being updated. So if you visit that address and it's not live yet, do check again in the future. Lastly, if you'd like more information on anything you've heard on the show, or to leave a comment, question or suggestion, just get in touch by calling 01858 438 260. That's 01858 438 260, or emailing info@torchtrust.org. Until next week, from me, Marilyn, and everyone on the Reflections team, goodbye and God bless.
You've been listening to Reflections from Torch Trust.